Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Now for today's video, we're going to be heading outside to take a look at my 1,000 gallon koi pond, as well as my little 7 gallon mini pond to check out some of the aquatic plants I have in there. And we're also going to be taking a trip to a local nursery to check out what kind of pond plants they have. But pond plants are so beneficial to your mini pond, your big pond, no matter the size of water feature you have. Pond plants just literally do wonders. Not only do they look super good when they're blooming and healthy, they also provide shade for the fish, they provide spaces for baby fish to hide, and they help remove some of that nitrate from your water, reducing algae growth. Really, who would want to keep a pond without plants? So because of that, I thought today I would give you a list of my top 10 best cheap and easy to keep plants for your pond. Now there's three main categories that these plants fall under, and we're going to be checking them all out today. So let's take a quick trip to the nursery, let's check out the three types of plants, and then we'll come right back and talk about my favorites in these categories. So the first category is going to be floating plants. As you can see, these floating plants are green, they're small, they're vibrant, but most importantly, they're cheap. They only run a couple dollars a piece. They're root feeders, meaning they get all their nutrients from the water, which is very abundant in ponds. There's a lot of nutrients to go around usually, so these plants do awesome. They thrive in direct or indirect sun in my experience. Next up is going to be bog plants. Now these plants usually have the roots submerged in a planter of some sort, and then the foliage grows up and out of the water. These are your irises, your elephant ear plants, stuff like that. This place has a wide variety of them. As you can see, they come in all sorts of different shapes, colors, and styles. However, some of them are more hardy than others, and some thrive in different climates more than others as well. Now the last category is going to be submersible plants. Now, these are the plants that can grow fully submerged. These are going to be your underwater plants like Anacharis and Hornwort, and these are also going to be your water lilies because the majority of water lilies are submersible. I guess they're kind of like a bog plant, which they do grow out of the water a little bit. I don't know, lilies are weird. We're going to get into lilies later. But there's our three types of plants: floating plants, bog plants, and submersible plants. Without further ado, let's start checking some of these out, and we're going to start off with floating plants. So the floating plant that I personally have is a little bit of water hyacinth. Supposedly these are supposed to flower. I haven't seen mine flower quite yet. They basically grow by just multiplying. This one you see here started as one kind of older plant, and as the older plant died off, a whole bunch of new plants emerged. Once again, just a super easy to care for plant, very set it and forget it. Now, in addition to water hyacinth, there's also water lettuce, which is another one of my favorite plants. They have a little bit of a different look than water hyacinth, and they're both very easy to keep, so I like to mix it up and include both. Water lettuce is a little bit more delicate than water hyacinth in my experience, although they both don't like extreme cold. During the spring, however, they thrive, constantly making new little baby water lettuces, and once again, the best part about these plants is they're so cheap. At this store, they're like $3 a piece. The roots these guys produce are super long and great for hiding baby fish, so if you're doing this in a mini pond where you need that space for baby guppies, mollies, and platies to hide, these floating plants are amazing. Now we can go ahead and move on into water lilies. Now, water lilies are almost a hybrid between a floating plant and a submersible plant. Basically, the ball or the main roots at the bottom of a lily plant go in a pot. That pot sinks to the bottom of your pond, and then out from the pot grows the actual lily pads you see, as well as flowers in most cases. So my lilies have these little pink and white flowers. They are absolutely gorgeous. These plants are super low maintenance. In the winter, they all die back, and they come back every spring, so it's not something you have to continuously rebuy. They look gorgeous when they're blooming. They last pretty much all pond season, and overall I would not keep a pond without them. I even have some in my small 7 gallon mini pond as well as my larger koi pond. You can find these in pretty much any garden store, even online. I found mine locally on Facebook Marketplace. Someone was giving them away, and now I have a whole bunch of them. They're great for koi as the large lily pads shade the surface from sun, which not only keeps the water temperatures down, but also inhibits algae growth. Now my other two favorite submersible plants are Anacharis and Hornwort. Now these are mainly suited for your smaller ponds like the 7 gallon mini pond, but these plants not only grow like crazy, they keep the water super clean, but once again, they are a great place for baby fish to hide. And when I set up a mini pond, that's usually the #1 thing I'm looking for, is hiding spots for baby fish, because you know, a small little mini pond with some guppies or platies that are breeding like crazy is awesome. Now these floating plants are super cheap. You can find them at most local fish stores. They are aquarium plants, but they do great in a wide variety of temperatures, anywhere from like 65 degrees to like 90 degrees. I've had these plants living. They're super hardy and they grow like crazy. They are both what I would call string plants. There's no real roots to them. They kind of all bunch at the bottom, so you can plant them in substrate. However, I found they work best kind of floating in the water column. They don't actually float on the surface, they just float kind of buoyant in the water, and they do an amazing job of being beautiful little scenery and hiding spots for your fish. Now last but not least, we have bog plants. Now bog plants mainly can be larger, you know, plants, trees, stuff like that get planted in shallow places on your pond. And what they do is as they grow, they extract nutrients from the water to keep the pond cleaner and the fish, you know, happier and healthier, just get that nitrate out of the system. Now, on this list, I didn't just want to include huge bog plants because not everyone has a huge pond. I really wanted to make this video accessible for everyone, so I did include some super basic pond plants on this list that you can literally find at PetSmart. So getting into the smaller bog plants first, we're going to check out the 7-gallon mini pond. Up first is bamboo. Now bamboo is pretty tolerant in the outdoors, honestly. You want to keep them out of direct sun in my experience, and they do not like getting too cold. Once it's around 60 degrees outside, they do have to come inside. However, during pond season, I have them growing in the bog part of this little mini pond, and they're doing awesome. You can get these at PetSmart for like $2. They're super low maintenance, they're super cheap, and they really don't have any cons to them other than they're not winter hardy. But if you're looking for just something pretty during springtime, bamboo is definitely the way to go. They have straight bamboo, they have curly bamboo, and like I said, they're only a couple bucks. The next little mini bog plant, if you will, is gold ribbon. Now this, once again, is a semi-aquatic plant from PetSmart, so super accessible. I believe it's like $10. You just plant the roots in water, make sure they stay warm enough, and they just kind of do their thing. As you can see, I have some going on right here next to the bamboo in this little mini pond, and they're doing great, they're thriving. These plants are super low maintenance, and that's why I wanted to include them on this list. None of these plants require crazy fertilizers or anything out of the ordinary that you wouldn't be able to provide in a simple mini pond. Now the next bog plant, if you will, is a plant that is super universal in the aquarium hobby, and that is Pothos. Now this plant is a great root feeder. So basically you can have the roots just dangling in water, whether it be your aquarium, your koi pond, or your mini pond, any source of water. They do a great job of keeping that water crystal clear by removing contaminants, nitrite, nitrate, whatever you have going on in there, Pothos will pretty much use it to feed. It's a beautiful trailing plant, so coming out of ponds, it looks awesome. However, just remember, this Pothos plant is a house plant, meaning it does not like extreme heat or extreme cold. So this Pothos plant right here is mainly in the shade. As you can see, it's still doing really good. They don't like direct sunlight, they don't like being cooked, and they don't like being frozen. However, similar to the gold ribbon and the bamboo, extremely accessible. You can find Pothos at pretty much any garden center, Lowe's, Home Depot, literally anywhere. Pothos is crazy common. You just take the roots out of the dirt and you can put them in your aquarium, your koi pond, or your mini pond, really wherever. Super great, low maintenance plant. Now the last one on this list is going to be if you have that big koi pond where you need to fill up some space, and that is going to be iris as well as elephant ear plants. Now starting with elephant ear plants, these guys were awesome. They start as a bulb, you plant that bulb in usually a 1 to 3 gallon pot, and you submerge that pot in your aquarium. Now as the bulb grows, these beautiful large leaves grow out of it, and it looks gorgeous. I had a green and a purple elephant ear plant in my koi pond a few years ago. Unfortunately, this pond season, it just did not come back. Generally, they overwinter pretty good. At least they have overwintered for me in the past, but this winter must have just been a little harsh on them because they did not grow back. So this might be one of those plants I'd recommend if it gets super cold where you are to bring it in for the winter. However, when they're growing, they are really pretty. There's no flowers in this plant. Their leaves are just super attractive, super big, super bold, and they thrive being semi-submerged in water. These guys do great in direct or indirect sunlight. They are very hardy outdoor plants. I've had no issues with them dying off, other than, of course, the harsh winter. So bring them in during winter. They die back during winter anyways. A lot of pond plants will die back during winter. That's just how they work. But elephant ear plants, in my opinion, are awesome. And then last but not least, a plant I hope to get my hands on soon is some iris. Now, similar to the elephant ear plants, these plants have their roots submerged in water, and then out from the water grows these beautiful leaves, as well as purple or blue or maybe even pink flowers. There's different varieties of iris, and they all are different colors. These plants are super gorgeous, mainly for their flowers. Now I believe these are just your standard outdoor iris, and they can be converted to growing in water, which is awesome. A recommendation I have if you're trying to grow some of these larger bog plants, something that I have done in the past, is taking terracotta pots, and then in the bottom I have placed aquatic pond plant substrate. It's by API. It's like a 5-pound bag. It was pretty cheap. I'll look around and see if I can find a link to it, and I'll link it down below. But it's this really nice plant substrate that doesn't leach any nasty stuff into your water, because if we're trying to put plants in the pond to clean the water, why would we want to introduce something that could contaminate the water? So I would highly recommend, if you're looking into some of these bog plants, to get a nice pond plant substrate and something you can plant them actually in. But that is going to be pretty much it for this video, and that completes my list of my top 10 pond plants for beginners. Like I said, whether you have a 1,000 gallon koi pond or a tiny little mini pond, all these plants are super accessible, super cheap, and will look dope in your water feature. But that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and goodbye.